All kids like books. This story is called The Hippo Restaurant. The Hippo Restaurant was the biggest, greatest restaurant the forest had ever seen. It was always full of animals wanting to eat the tastiest food they had ever eaten. The Hippo Restaurant served everything from soup to nuts and everything in between. Nothing was too crazy for them to make. The most popular dishes they served were seaweed fly soup with arrowroot shafts, fresh bread with baked fleas and chewing gum gravy, and a side of deep-fried ducktail feathers. The restaurant had the best dessert table in the world. It did not matter how much you ate or how full you were, it was a must for all customers. They had large desserts for large hungry customers, they had tiny desserts for the small little customers, and medium-sized desserts for everyone else. They had sweet desserts, they had savory desserts, they had hot desserts, and they had cold desserts. Everyone left the dessert table happy. The most amazing thing about the Hippo Restaurant was that it only had one kitchen. Then, one Friday night, the busiest night of the week, the head hippo noticed that the tables were slowly emptying of food. Customers started to complain and leave. There was nothing he could do to keep them at the tables or make them happy. This was terrible. Even the dessert table stopped having food, and for the first time ever, people were leaving not happy, but mad. The head hippo was in big, big trouble. Mr. Hippo, the owner of the Hippo Restaurant, was coming in to check on his restaurant and to find out why and how this terrible thing was happening. Every animal in the forest was talking about how bad the Hippo Restaurant was and how bad the desserts were. They all wondered how you can have a restaurant and not have any food. That is, all the animals but one. Sammy the snake was nowhere to be found. When Mr. Hippo asked about Sammy, everyone said they had not seen him since he was last at the restaurant. The strange thing that Mr. Hippo discovered was that all of the restaurant's problems started just after Sammy had visited. Mr. Hippo searched high and low, through thick and thin, under leaves and over trees. Sammy was not to be found, not even at the sniveling snake restaurant that Sammy owned. Sad that he was going to have to close his restaurant, Mr. Hippo went to the kitchen, which was an old hollowed-out tree stump, to tell all the cooks they would have to find new jobs. There, coiled up in the middle of the kitchen floor, was the biggest, fattest snake he had ever seen. No one else was in the kitchen, not even his secret fairy cooks. Where is everyone? Mr. Hippo thought. He went over to the snake to ask him to leave. But before he got there, the snake lifted its head and said, "Shh. I'm so full. I have a tummy ache and my head hurts." It was Sammy the snake right there on the floor! Sammy! Why are you in my kitchen? Have you been here the whole time? And where are my secret fairy cooks? Sammy opened one eye and smiled when he saw Mr. Hippo standing there. Oh, hello, Mr. Hippo. I came to the Hippo Restaurant to see what was the big deal. I needed to see why all the animals were not coming to my sniveling snake restaurant anymore. I found this wonderful seat here in this tree. I ate my fill and went to sleep. Wait, if this is your kitchen, then I guess I ate all of your secret fairy cooks. I do hope you have some more. They were delicious. I guess now everyone will have to come back to my restaurant. Mr. Hippo was furious. His eyes got super red. Steam started to come out of his ears. He ran towards Sammy the snake. He was going to step on Sammy and squish him. The head hippo came into the kitchen at that exact moment. Mr. Hippo, stop! Don't be like Sammy. Don't be the bad guy. Mr. Hippo heard the head hippo and stopped in front of Sammy with his foot lifted high, ready to stomp. He took 10 deep breaths and counted to 10 times. Slowly the steam stopped coming out of his ears, and his eyes went back to being white. He lowered his foot back down to the ground. When he was calm enough, he spoke to Sammy. I am not going to squish you, but you ate my secret fairy cooks on purpose, just because you were jealous of my restaurant. I am calling the forest police. They can send you to jail. The forest police came and took Sammy away. He was found guilty of violating the Forest Restaurant Alliance Pact, FRAP, as they like to call it, which clearly said no eating of special fairy cooks. Sammy was asked to leave the forest forever and never come back. Mr. Hippo was in the deepest part of the forest, sad that his restaurant was now closed. As he sat there crying, a group of fairies flew around him and asked why he was so sad. He told them the whole story. When he was done, the fairies said, "Cheer up, Mr. Hippo. We can be your new cooks if you'd like." They all rushed back to the Hippo restaurant and started working on the grand reopening. They were even able to turn the sniveling snake, Sammy's old restaurant, into the new, better-than-ever dessert table. The Hippo restaurant opened, and everything was great. Although, it was no longer the best restaurant in the forest. It was the best restaurant in the universe. Everywhere in the world Sammy the Snake went, he had to listen to how wonderful the restaurant had become. The end. The moral of this story is, bad guys never win if you do the right thing.